Chris Sewall here, baseball card collector, investor, dealer, in that order. Welcome, everyone. Recently, a card became the new card that was graded a PSA Gem Mint 10 more than any other in history, and not that that's some big news in the hobby or anything, but it was interesting to me for a few reasons. One is I've done a couple videos about this in the last one about 3 years ago and another about a year ago, and the top 10 list at the time were basically the exact same. As you can see, basically the top 10 were all cards from 2018 to 2020. But the newest entry is from 2023, and like I said, it didn't just sort of crack the top 10 or something like that. It shot to the top right away. Already number one all time with over 24,000 copies graded at PSA Gem Mint 10. And I'll share what the card was in just a bit here. Many of you probably already know what it was, but it also led me down a little bit of a research rabbit hole, which around a topic that I've discussed before on the channel, but maybe never gone into great detail about, but a good one for people to be aware of regarding grading particularly ultra-modern base cards. So for a quick review, here are the 12 cards graded the most times in history of PSA Gem Mint 10. I blacked out the number one for another minute here, but it's all baseball and basketball. Like I said, all from 2018 to 2020. Every card's a base card. All the baseball is Topps or Topps Update, and all the basketball is Prizm, with the exception being the Zion in the lower right, which is Panini Mosaic. Every card on here is a rookie card, and it's sort of an interesting cross-section of you get, elite players in their sport at the moment, and players like Juan Soto and Luka Doncic. You get other, major stars in Ronald Acuna and John Morant and Tatis, and you got very good players like Pete Alonso, and you get some, down to more curious, players like Lewis Robert, and you even get, one really, really bizarre one, Gavin Lux. And every time I make one of these videos, I sort of pick on Gavin Lux a bit, because isn't it just amazing that Gavin Lux has the number, the ninth most graded PSA 10 card in history. And I don't mean to pick on, Gavin Lux, but in elementary school, there was this kid, Gavin, who took my lunch money and made me cry in front of Amanda Glazer, who I had a huge crush on. So today, I really don't have a problem, picking on people named Gavin, getting a little bit of a petty revenge that way. But that aside, the new most PSA 10 card in sports card history is this 2023 Panini Prizm Victor Wembanyama rookie, card number 136. And I've actually done entire videos about how this card was overpriced when it first came out, but now it is, the most PSA 10 card in history, with 24,303 copies and a PSA 10 existing at the time of this recording. That's more than any other card ever. And it's also only been out for about a year, and it's, still growing quite rapidly. So over the next few months or year maybe, it'll probably create quite a big gap between number one and number two, which is currently the Juan Soto Topps Update rookie. But yeah, there'll probably be a fairly large gap between one and two by the time this sort of settles down. But yeah, going back to the 12 most PSA 10 cards of all time, and if you're familiar with the value of these cards in a PSA 10, you probably have a general sense for where this is going, and we're going to dive into that a little bit deeper. But here's the current market value of each of these cards in a PSA 10 today. And I mean, take a look at the numbers in the right column there. Keep in mind, it costs about $20 to get a card graded with PSA. I mean, you can maybe get a few dollars off if you wait for the monthly specials or whatever, but for the most part, it's $20 a card. Half the cards on this list, basically the bottom six, don't even cover the cost of grading in a PSA 10. And the top half's a little better, but not a whole lot. I mean, the third most valuable card on this list is Juan Soto at $54. From a purely financial standpoint, it doesn't really make sense to grade that Juan Soto today. I mean, I guess it's sort of a borderline case, but realistically, the only two cards on this list that would make sense to grade today, assuming you thought they were going to get a PSA 10, is the Luka Doncic and the Victor Wembanyama. And that's because all these cards have been dropping in value over time because of the high supply and the high pop count. But think about it a little further. Like, it's actually pretty insane when you sort of zoom out and look at it big picture. I mean, it's really incredible. Just take a look at the six bottom cards again and consider that 20,000 times somebody spent $20 to send this to PSA. They hit the grade they want. They got the 10. And over time, that card has gone down, whether it was that original person or the person they sold the card to or they traded it to. 20,000 times somebody spent $20 times six examples here. That's PSA making a ton of money, whereas all the collectors are receiving their cards, and over time, they're losing money. The collectors as a whole, everybody's losing money on these cards over time, right? The value of these cards are trickling down, and meanwhile, PSA has received a ton of money. Now, I'm not a PSA is the evil empire guy. I don't have that mentality at all, but that's essentially what's happened here. There's been a huge transfer of money from the everyday collector to PSA, and in the long run, the collector is not getting the value out of it. Now, you can say, and I'm sure a lot of you will, that PSA is the evil empire and, it's all their fault, but I don't view it that way. I view it as a lack of education from the everyday collector. I mean, it's us collectors who are choosing to send these cards in. PSA is not forcing us to send these in. We're making that choice, and these cards have no business being submitted in this quantity. Now, obviously, if you're a Fernando Tatis collector and you pull his card out of a pack and you're really excited and you want to get it graded because you like the process and you get a 10, you're like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this sort of quantity. Each of these cards being graded 20,000 times. And obviously there's not, 20,000 Pete Alonso collectors who each want to have, a PSA 10 Topps rookie in their collection. These cards are being sent in for other reasons. And that brings me to this chart here, which is the number of cards graded each month over the last 4 years. And quick shout out to GemRate. A lot of the charts you see on here are from gemrate.com. They're not a sponsor in any way, but just a fantastic website with a lot of great data regarding card grading. But yeah, you can see the very, very clear upward steady trend of grading month by month over the last 4 years. I mean, there's no question. And I predicted maybe a year ago or so that I thought it would start to flatten out and start to decline even, but we're just absolutely not seeing that. But a large reason for this is because people continue to send in mass quantities these base rookie cards that really have no chance of going up. They're going to start high and then just go down. This was, very big during 2020 and 2021, but it's still big today. And I guess I just sort of thought or maybe hoped that, the hobby as a whole would sort of catch on to this and realize that these cards are not worth submitting in this sort of quantity. Take a look at this example here. 2023 Topps Adley Rutschman rookie, PSA 10. This just sold for $11 on eBay. Again, that's basically half the cost of the grading fee. Adley Rutschman's been an all-star each of the last 2 seasons, so it's not like he's some sort of bust or anything. He's a solid player in the league, and his Topps rookie PSA 10 here is, $11. Here's a look at the chart of the Adley Rutschman over time. The card, debuted maybe 2 years ago or a little less than 2 years ago, and you can see it was selling for $50 to $100 as a PSA 10, and at that price point, it's makes sense to send in $50 to $100, but then it quickly drops below 50, and then it's just long, slow, steady decline, and all the way down to $10 to $15 where it is today. And this is the way the chart looks for basically every base rookie card of a player who's not LeBron James or Steph Curry or something like that. Here's another example: 2023 Mosaic CJ Stroud rookie. This PSA 10 recently sold on eBay for $20. And if we take a look at the chart of this card over time, it looks very, very similar, right? Starts off really high out of the gate. Everyone's excited. Oh, a brand new product, hot young new player, selling for $100 to $200 in a PSA 10. There's probably not a whole lot of them out there. And then, a whole bunch of them hit the market. And CJ Stroud turns out is not, win an MVP in the Super Bowl in his first year. So the card drops below 100 and then just a long, slow, steady decline down to the $20 where it is today. And both the Rutschman and the CJ Stroud are just 2 examples of many. CJ Stroud has many, many, many base rookie cards at this point, and this is just one of many of them. And it's been graded thousands and thousands of times, and he has many other cards that have also been graded thousands and thousands of times. There's just too much supply of this non-rare base card stuff in PSA 10s that it just can't hold its value. It has no chance. It doesn't matter how good CJ Stroud is. Victor Wembanyama is showing the exact same thing, exact same shape with his graph. This card's super hot out of the gate. The brand new Prizm rookie of Victor Wembanyama, everybody wanted it, selling for $400-500 right out of the gate. After a couple months, it quickly drops, down to maybe $200, and then it's just been a long, slow, steady decline since then, down to the $90 where it is today, and I suspect it will continue to slowly decline over time. Now, as a dealer, it's very easy to take advantage of this, right? You get a brand new product in. You happen to get a base card of a hot young rookie, well, send it to PSA immediately and then sell it immediately, because you'll make the most money if you sell it right at the beginning. But my bigger picture point is that I'd like to see the collector base as a whole be smarter about not submitting these type of cards in this sort of quantity. Might hurt PSA a little bit, but I think they're doing just fine. But it's more like, on that Adley Rutschman, somebody spent $20 to sell that card for $11. They basically just threw away $9 or gave PSA $9 for nothing in return. I'd much rather see them take that $9 and put it back in the hobby in other ways, by buying singles for their collection or buying some packs or something like that. I think would be a healthier ecosystem if there was more of that and less of this just submitting cards that have no business being submitted in these quantities. Again, if it's for a PC or something, of course, but 20,000 Gavin Lux cards, there's no world where, that makes any sense. But I really appreciate everyone watching. Would love to hear people's thoughts and comments on this. And yeah, see you all again next time. Eat your vegetables. Thanks, everyone.